In last week's video, I spoke about the reasons why medical billing may not be for you. I gave you 8 reasons why it may not be for you. And in today's video, I'm going to give you 8 more reasons why medical billing may not be for you. So let's jump into it. Now, reason number 1 that medical billing may not be for you is because you do not like to follow up or deal with the same situation over and over again. Now, as a medical biller, whether that is if you have a medical billing business or if you are a medical biller as an employee, you will have to follow up very often. That is basically, I believe, like the priority or the basis of a medical biller. Yes, we send out claims. That is the first thing that we do. But most of the time, we're trying to follow up on that claim as far as finding out the status, why it was paid, how it was paid, if it was paid. We're just trying to make sure that payment comes in. Our main duty is for payment, and we have to follow up. So if you're just submitting claims and then expecting them to get paid, yes, some of the claims will get paid, but there are going to be some that don't. And that is when we really have to get in and do what we do as medical billers. Reason number 2 that medical billing may not be for you is because you are inconsistent or you're kind of like a free spirit. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a free spirit, but in certain jobs or positions, you cannot just be a free spirit. You have to make sure that you do things consistently on a routine, have habits, and medical billing is one of those positions that you need to do that for. Again, piggybacking off of the first one, you need to follow up on claims. Now, we have something called timely filing, so we need to make sure that even though we send out a claim, we need to make sure that the third-party payer, the insurance company, or whomever else is supposed to pay, has actually received it and is going to pay. So if you send out a claim in January and you never follow up with it again until December, most likely you're going to pass the timely filing limit and it's not going to be paid and it's going to be a loss to the provider. So again, you don't want that to happen. So you need to make sure that you are consistent. When you are following up on claims, you need to have a routine on that. And I think I probably did a video about that, so I will be linking that above for you. But you need to have routines as a medical biller. It is not hard to be a medical biller because it is something that you can learn, but it can appear to be hard or seem to be very hard if you are all over the place. If you don't know when you're supposed to send out claims, you don't know when you're supposed to follow up, you don't know if you have received payments because you're kind of just doing things when you remember to do them. And that is not good as a medical biller or a medical billing business owner. Reason number 3 that medical billing may not be for you is if you despise numbers. Now, I spoke about that in the first video. Check that video out if you haven't. But if you despise numbers, then you probably really would not be a good medical biller because all we do for the most part is deal with numbers. Now, not to say that you have to be a wizard or you have to be like extremely good with numbers, because basically what we do when it comes to numbers is more of, addition, subtraction. You might have to do some multiplication, division, whatever. The basics of mathematics, but you will be dealing with this all the time. And for me, I think that's why I actually love medical billing, because I love numbers. It excites me when I have to figure out why I have 100 numbers that's supposed to add up to something and it doesn't add up correctly, or I have to figure out how you came up with a figure or an amount, try and figure out the percentage. All of that excites me. And I think as a medical biller, that should be something that excites you because, again, as in my last video, I spoke about being detail oriented. And when I was talking about that, that really pertained to the numbers that we have to deal with all the time. There are also other things that we have to do as far as, guidelines and rules and policies and all of that, which is not necessarily numbers. It's more like, reading and all of that stuff. But we mainly deal with numbers. So if you despise numbers as a medical biller, you probably will be miserable doing your job. The fourth reason why medical billing may not be for you is because you give up easily and you don't have that fight in you. You just really take what's, at face value, and you just take it for what it is. Now, as a medical biller, you definitely cannot do that because there are some times when things don't make sense. A payer may say, we're not going to pay for this claim because of A, B, and C, and you have to dig a little deeper, find out why, see if it actually makes sense, if it's actually in their policy. Just because a payer says that they're not going to pay for something, that doesn't mean that that is the correct way. They are not even though they're the ones who are paying you, that doesn't mean that they're always correct. So you have to fight for what you know is right. If you know in their policy says that we pay for office visits as well as ultrasounds, let's say, and then you send out a claim that says, you did an ultrasound, or the provider did an ultrasound and an office visit, and they don't pay, you need to fight for that payment. Third-party payers, for the most part, they kind of don't want to pay. Like, more and more you see that insurance companies don't want to pay for certain things. And that's, I have my own opinion about that. So they don't want to pay, but it is our job to have them pay for services that were actually rendered, that they should be paying for, that they told the patient that they would cover if they was going to have this done. So we need to fight for the patients, we need to fight for our providers, and we need to not give up so easily when it comes to claims not being paid. Now, I can talk all day about medical billing, and if you have questions when it comes to starting your medical billing business, then make sure you schedule your remote one-on-one with me. We can talk one-on-one, have personalized conversation about the questions that you have about starting your medical billing business. You maybe have already started it up, but you still have a couple more questions about what to do, how to handle certain things. This remote one-on-one is for you. So make sure you schedule it early, and make sure you schedule today, because they fill up pretty quickly sometimes. I only have a few limited spots. It's just me. So make sure you schedule it today. I will leave the link in the description box as always, and I hope to talk to you soon. Reason number 5 that medical billing may not be for you is because you believe that medical billing is data entry or just submitting claims. Now, those two things are things that I hear a lot when it comes to medical billing. Oh, you can learn medical billing in a day. Oh, medical billing is, so easy, as they say. All you're doing is data entry, or all you're doing is sending out claims. That is why some people get in trouble, because they feel like all you're doing is sending out claims. So if you decide to open your medical billing business and you know nothing about billing, and you think that the provider is going to just give you the information that needs to go on the claim, you're going to send it out, it's going to get paid, and then you're going to get paid. Sometimes that happens, but that is not what medical billing is about. Medical billing is not a data entry job. Data entry in itself is just typing in, numbers, typing in words, typing in, maybe the patient's demographic information and all of that stuff. That is not just what a medical biller does, because when a claim goes out and comes back and it's incorrect, what are you going to do then? Or to even send out the claim, you keep getting a rejection because things are wrong on that claim and you have no idea why they're wrong. You don't have any idea, what it's supposed to be. That can really get you in trouble. So medical billing is not data entry, and it is not just submitting claims. You need to learn a little bit more about billing if you want to, really, especially if you want to open your medical billing business. I would always recommend just to take a course that can give you the fundamentals. It's not going to teach you everything that you need to know. And if you can get experience along with that, that would also be great. But you need to know a little bit about a little bit, or a lot about a lot, when it comes to medical billing, because you don't want to mess up providers' money and their revenue and believe that you know what you're doing when you really don't. The sixth reason why medical billing may not be for you is because you do not put patients first. If you are in medical billing or want to get into medical billing because all you want to do is make a whole lot of money, and you don't care about the patients or you don't care about the providers, then I really would say this is not for you. Medical billing, for me at least, is a very serious job. This affects so many things. It affects our patients as far as how much money they have to spend, if they're being overcharged. You know, you are a patient, you have a family member that may be a patient, and you don't want them to be overcharged for their health care. They're already dealing maybe with a sickness or, something that they don't want to deal with, and you don't want them to be overcharged for that either. It's already expensive, you don't want them to be overcharged. And as far as a provider is concerned, you want to be vested with the provider as well, because you are working for the provider, whether you have your own medical billing business or you are working as an employee, and you want to make sure that they're getting paid for the services that they are rendering. They went to school to learn about healthcare, to be able to help us out there as patients, and they should be compensated for the services that they do. So if you don't make providers and patients a priority, then I would suggest you not be a medical biller. The seventh reason why medical billing may not be for you is because you are scared to talk to providers. Now, I was scared at a point to talk to providers, but I quickly got over that because I realized I have to do it. Now, if you had asked me earlier on, I probably would have told you that I wasn't very good at it, and that would have been correct. I really wasn't very good at it. But as I continue to get deeper and deeper into the field, I feel like I've gotten better and better, and I realize that providers appreciate what I tell them. So providers will hire you, whether that is in your business or as a medical biller, to work for them. And they expect you to tell them what's going on. They might not come out and ask you, but they are expecting you, again, to work for them and make sure that they get the revenues that they're supposed to, and that you tell them, what's going wrong, why it's going wrong, show them what to do so that it can go right and so that they can be compensated. So if you're scared to talk to a provider, then a lot of things are going to be missed. They're probably going to continue to make errors. Their revenue is going to be low and, not consistent. And you don't want that at all. So if you are scared to talk to providers, you kind of have to get out of your head that there's someone high and above. Now, you do have to speak to providers in a certain way. And I probably should do a video about that, because sometimes a provider may feel like, this is their area or this is their field. They know what to do when it comes to diagnosing a patient, when it comes to doing procedures and services on the patient. And if you come to them and let them know, well, you can't do this, or you can't do this with this, or, they're more interested in helping the patient, because that's why they got into the field to begin with. So they're not, they want to get paid for what they're doing, and sometimes it's contradicting what the insurance carriers or the third-party payers are saying that they will pay for. So it gets a little, iffy sometimes. But if you can talk to them, speak to them, let them understand why they can and can't do things, why things are being denied, how they can fix it so that they can get paid, then that would be best for both you and for them, and for their patients, because they will continue to want to see patients. The eighth reason why medical billing may not be for you is because you don't like technology. Now, if you had asked me this maybe 10 years ago, I would have told you technology is not necessary, but in this day and age, we're in 2025, it is definitely needed. So if you do not like technology, then medical billing just may not be for you, because everything is using some type of technology, as far as sending out the claims, the practice management systems that you use. The insurance carriers, sometimes they don't even want to speak to you on the phone because they want to send you on their site or send you on a portal or something. So you're going to always have to be dealing with some form of technology, and things are just getting more and more advanced. It's kind of like you have no option but to jump on the bandwagon. So if that is not what you like to do, or you don't want to learn about, because you're not going to learn everything about technology that you need to. If you have a medical billing business and you are working in different providers' practice management systems. You're going to have to learn how to deal with, the different practice management systems that's out there. When you have things that go wrong or errors, you're going to have to try and figure that out. Yes, there's going to be probably an IT department if you're working as a medical biller, or if you have a business, you might have an IT person that can help you out. But for the most part, there are going to be a lot of things that you have to do with technology. There may be glitches. You got to figure that out. So you just have to open up and expand your mind and know that technology is a big part when it comes to medical billing. And if you're still wondering if medical billing is for you, if you should start a medical billing business, be sure to take my quiz. It's a free quiz. It'll ask you a few questions. It won't take too long, less than a minute probably. And you can find out if medical billing is right for you and if you should start that medical billing business that you have been thinking about. Again, it's in my description box, and I will see you in my next video.